Namaste. Welcome back to the second series of Open Conversations, Bhagya, the Luck. So far, we explored, so far we explored the term luck in the mystical and scientific way, how common people relate to it, and how they define it. Further in the discussion, we would like to explore with our subject expert, Dr. Himanshu Vaidya, that how it operates in process. Yes, sir.
It operates exactly as it's operating now. Both my broadband connections are off and I am using my phone hotspot. So this is how luck operates. uh,
True.
question. Uh, Coming to our question, it operates in process terms as a multiplier.
Okay.
The multiplier can be 1, less than 1, more than 1. When the
Okay.
multiplier is 1, then the output is directly proportional to the effort or talent or opportunity. And everything looks so rational. So for people where that group of people where the multiplier is 1, they feel as though there's nothing like luck because everything seems to be a rational process. The more input you give, the more output you get. You work hard, you get more marks. You don't work, you fail in the exam. Luck doesn't seem to work there when the multiplier is 1. When the multiplier is higher than 1, for small effort, you get a big reward. And instead of appreciating luck, human ego takes it upon itself that everyone is working hard and I am working smart. And because I'm working smart, because I'm more talented, I am getting more than what I'm putting in. So the ego appropriates the working of luck. So although luck can be seen by a third person, the one who is in the middle of it does not want to believe in luck. He wants to believe in the extraordinariness of himself.
Mm.
But when uh, of course, the third person can easily see that the man is getting more than is due and luck is in operation. And the third is when the multiplier is less than 1. When the multiplier
Mhm.
is less than 1, you can easily see luck because you put in so much and you get back so less. What you deserve, you don't get half of it. So, there, despite all your best efforts again and again, done with more knowledge, more sincerity, more guidance every time, using the feedback of the last time every time, and yet the result does not come. And that is where the luck comes in. So it's easiest to see the operation of luck when the multiplier is less than 1, when the luck is hard. So this is one part of it. Uh, the second part of it is when something is very occurs in a very distant way, that you do hard work, nothing happens, you get disappointed, you resign and you give up. And after some time, automatically it happens. What you were trying so hard to make it happen by your effort, and you failed and you get disappointed, you resign, and you just said goodbye to it, and then suddenly it happens on its own. So that also is an element of luck which is at play. And another operation of luck that we can see is in lived experience. That we have lived experience of positive luck and negative luck. I think most of us have those experiences at some point in time in life. That we have all lived positive experiences and negative luck experiences. Then there's also this intuition which tells you, okay, I knew this would happen.
Mm.
That somehow intuition is able to fathom the luck in operation. And that can be even distant operation of luck. May not be immediate, but you intuitively know that 2 years down the line this will happen. Or when somebody tells you, either astrologer or palmist or anybody, that this is going to happen and you find it unbelievable. That in normal stretch of circumstances, by normal rational logic, doesn't seem to be probable, but it happens. Or an astrologer tells you something unbelievable which you never thought of. It doesn't seem like logical at that moment. that this will happen, and it happens. So there the luck is operating in conjunction with some planetary systems. So it tells us that luck is not a free vagabond. There is some sort of science of luck. May not be 100%, maybe luck has freedom of 50% or 25%, but to some extent, it does obey or work in conjunction with certain laws, and those laws can be studied and managed to some extent that they can be managed. So in that sense, if you look at astrology, it's almost like the science of luck. And like physics or chemistry, it's not a hard science, it's a soft science, it's a half science. So these are some of the ways in which luck operates. And we also have those larger cycles of luck. Like if you look at planetary warming, we are today talking about climate change, but climate change is a cyclical phenomena. It has happened many times in the past. Even when there were no industries, climate change did happen. The warming of the earth did happen. So there are these larger cycles of earth, very large geological cycles of earth, very large atmospheric cycles of earth. And there, luck operates on a much larger scale for human beings. That we don't know how it happens. And then there is this whole idea of the extraterrestrial, whether their advent suddenly changes our fate, either by sharing of discoveries or by any other means. So this is how luck operates in practice, primarily as a multiplier. And that multiplier activates itself in certain ways in conjunction with or in accordance with certain laws which partly are understood by astrology, palmistry, the Nadi predictors, and so on. So this is how we see it in operation. The simplest way is to look at it as a multiplier.
So are we then doomed to fate?
This creates a binary, a false binary, that either you have free will, which is 100% free, or you have luck, which controls everything. It's an or situation, but the reality is an and situation, not an or situation. It is not free will or luck. It is free will and luck, and not only free will and luck, it is free will and luck and many other things. Because this brings us to the primal question: how does any event take place?
Hmm.
And it gets us into what we call the general causality model. That how does any event take place? And when you ask that question, we know that certain events happen by free will, certain events happen by karma, certain events happen by self-journey, certain events happen by free will of others, certain events happen by laws of science, certain events happen by journey of universe, and so on. So there is a list of causal factors which result into an event. And what we call luck may be any of the variables other than free will of the self. Because the way we define luck in normal parlance is anything that is not our free will is luck. But if you look at actually luck as a grace, a freedom, then it's a very small area of operation. But the way we operate is anything that is not outcome of our free will is luck. So in that sense, many things get covered under the word luck, and therefore it is those many things, if you look into, they are not some kind of a fatal law, but they involve the free will of many conscious beings.
Right.
So this is one part. The second part, so which means it is not that there is some inanimate law called luck operating, and which is other than free will, and the whole theory of can be explained by just two elements, free will and luck. So this is not that kind of a binary. It's a false binary.
Right.
what we have in the general causality model is we have free will of self, free will of others, and then many other factors. And all of those factors other than free will, if you put as luck, many of those factors are workable. They are not something that is fated upon us or we are condemned to it. So there is a scope of freedom in many of those variables. There is a scope of doing something in many of those variables. So it is not indescribable, unalterable fate as we have it cast upon us. This is one part. Second part is luck itself is divided into 4 types of lucks. Luck which is soft, which is moderate, which is hard, and which is inevitable. So the soft part of luck we can overcome by our efforts very easily. That somebody has to work 4 hours a day to earn 100 rupees, and I might have to work 5 hours a day. That is soft hard luck. It's an oxymoron, soft hard luck, but it goes that way. Then we have the moderate component of luck, where instead of 4 hours, I might have to work 7 minutes. Then this hard component of fate, that practically for an ordinary person, it is almost inevitable, because the type of effort which is required, the type of talent which is required, you can talk about Gautam Buddha or Swami Vivekananda, but it is not the cup of tea of an ordinary person. So what we call the hard part of luck is actually inevitable for normal circumstances. And then which is this inevitable component of luck, which even the enlightened persons can't change. And they have to also suffer through it. So there are 4 components of luck in which, out of which, 2 can easily be managed by hard work, by sincerity, by knowledge, by many things. And the hard one, a few can manage. So it's not as though luck is a inevitable, fatal, something destined upon you and nothing can be done about it. In a large component of luck, you can do things to manage luck to this extent that you can. So we are not doomed to fate. There is scope for work and there is scope for life in the making. So this is how the operation part and the scope of doing something that exists.
So does this not contradict both extreme opinions?
It does, because extreme opinions are either there is only free will or there is
Or
only
it's just
fate.
fate?
Both of them are not correct, because we know by direct experience of everyday life that it is not true. That there is something called free will and there is something called fate, and both of them are operating, and it's a multifactorial situation. It's not actually a 2 variable situation, because what we call fate actually has 8-10 variables. So actually it is free will, and those 8-10 variables, those 12 to 14 variables, they constitute the general causality model. And therefore, when we look at what Hegel said, the person who was more into fate, the inevitable movement of the absolute, or what Marx said, the material determinism, both were into fate completely in different ways. One on side of idealism, one on side of materialism, but both were into fate in different ways. Inevitable fate without much scope for human free will. So both of them were wrong on that point. And the other extreme, like Sartre and Mill, who are completely on free will, they also are wrong, because we see there are limits to free will, both of intention and capacity, and more of capacity. And we see the inevitable working of fate. So it is not a binary, it is an and situation, both work, and it's a multifactorial complex situation, complicated situation in terms of causality.
So does fate part then come upon us all at once, or is there a more sophisticated system to it?
It's a more complicated system. The simplest understanding is, last incarnation you killed this person, so this incarnation he will kill you. It's a very rudimentary understanding of it. Now,
Actually.
in some situations, it may happen literally that way, but in most situations, it doesn't. And what happens is that Hindu spirituality goes into the details of it. It tells us that the karmic component is stored somewhere in Akashic records. And based upon the situation of the world, based upon the self journey of the soul, and based upon the journey of the universe, certain part of that karma is allowed to get activated for action in the world. And some part remains there for future incarnations. So there is a total collection out of which the Sanchit karma, out of which the part of it gets activated. And there is a name for it, I forgot the name. And that part then works out and constitutes what one component of luck, as we call it. And
Prarabdh.
huh?
Prarabdh.
Yeah, prarabdh, but prarabdh, some people use the word prarabdh for the inevitable part of karma.
Okay.
But
It's the
actually,
fruit of
yeah,
karma.
yeah, the inevitable component of it, which is destined to happen no matter what you do. But actually, the karma, as we saw, comes in those four categories. So, what is activated there, all of that did not be of the prarabdh type. What is activated for processing for this incarnation has those four categories. And therefore, it's a complicated system. And the second component is of luck will be the activation of higher beings. If higher beings have grace or they want to participate, or if the soul has got emanation from, has given emanation to something else, like part of it goes to somewhere else, right? Or there's been a coalescence, something else has come out into the soul. That also changes the way the evolution is going to further proceed. Then there's also the element of grace. There is also the element of working on oneself and erasing. And if one goes into those kind of spiritual practices, then that karma which you erase by spiritual practice is not going to take action in the world. That which the guru takes over or helps you erase, that also is not going to take action in the world. That which is not in consonance with the journey of the universe at this point is not going to get active. That which is inhibited by higher beings is not going to get active. That which you want to live out in the astral world is not going to get active here. And one more component, very interesting component. If you live out your quota for this incarnation, and if there is still more potential in you, then from general nature, the issues come in. So let us say you were to process a certain amount of anger in this incarnation, you are done with it. So then from the general nature, more anger will come for processing because you have spare time. So this is what Sri Aurobindo and the mother call the waves from the general nature. That just does not seem to stop. You keep purifying, you feel the work is over, and again it comes.
True.
Now this can have two components. As we say, the return of the repressed, it comes in layers in psychoanalysis. But this is something else. That when the return of the repressed is completely taken over, even then there is second repetition by waves from the general nature, which has nothing to do with personal events. Or some other non-human beings may like to work out their karma through you, and therefore they get in the action either by possession or by being with you or by putting in karma or by occult connection, making you undertake their karmic process.
Even in the lineage.
Even in the lineage. In the lineage, you have this genetic component which is crying out for being addressed. So there is a genetic component crying out for addressal. Or your own ancestors can join in for you to work through certain things. So if you look at the luck and the karma components, it's far more sophisticated and complicated thing. Lord Krishna says in Gita again thick and complicated are the ways of karma.
Right.
And it's very difficult to fathom the whole theory, because the theory of karma, if you understand completely, it's very near to the theory of everything. Because it's actually at the root of much of what we call everything. Not completely, but much of it. So, lastly, there is this element of grace. Because of grace, luck may happen or not happen, karma may happen or not happen. And the more powerful the beings are involved, the more powerful is the intervention and the change in luck or karma. And at the end of it, we can leave certain karmas to the higher beings or to Tripura Sundari. Tripura Sundari will take care of it. So this, if you look into this system of Hindu spirituality of luck and karma, it's quite a multifactorial, multi-elemental, multi-variable, exponential, non-linear, interconnected, involving feedback systems, involving multiple dimensions of reality. It's quite a complicated system, and it's conceptualized in that way.
Does this aspect not await being a part of science?
Definitely does. Because if you look into Hindu spirituality and all that is put there under the title of luck and karma, it's almost a soft science. There's no need to treat it like philosophy. Actually, if you put a hierarchy of rigor, you will have physical sciences, life sciences, psychological sciences, social sciences. Then you will have craft, art, and philosophy. And philosophy will be the least rigorous of all sciences, dealing with things which is far away for science to deal at present. It's like asking the question, why should laws of science exist at all? Now, who is to answer this kind of question? Where is one going to test this kind of question? Or to ask a question, what is a human being? Or what is existence? Who is going to answer this kind of question? Are you going to test it? So philosophy is the least rigorous of it. And then we have art, and then we have craft. I think this science, if you take it from Hindu spirituality and do a bit of work on it, it will be in the space between craft and art.
Okay.
More towards craft and less towards art. This is where the real location of that science should be. It should not be in the part of philosophy. And the more we put work into it, the closer it will come to a craft. And two important elements of any science are the explanatory power of that science and the predictive power of that science. These are very important criteria to look at. The explanatory power, the predictive power, and the adherence to laws of science as we understand. So if we look at all of the three, this conceptual structure has very strong explanatory power. To some extent, predictive power. And therefore, if we put something like an event causation science or a karmalogy kind of thing, or a bhagyalogy kind of thing, we can have an individual work upon it with his insights, and many individuals can come together, just as existential philosophers come together, just as parapsychology people come together, and then try to create a more rigorous science and move more and more towards the craft, away from art. And this is a kind of a location transplant of a body of knowledge in that realm of world of knowledge. And this is where I think it should be going. It is not going, but it should be going.
So do we then accept the part which is inevitable?
Yes. At the end of it, there is an inevitability to life, as somebody has put it. And therefore, we live in a situation where there is partial control and partial helplessness, partial resourcefulness and partial helplessness, partial free will and partial fate, partial good luck and partial hard luck. So we get this kind of a collage, and therefore we don't see apparent perfect justice. What can be done is that component which can be managed of luck and karma can be managed, and the rest of it, there is an inevitability to it, and we accept it. So first we do the optimum management where we can, and then we accept the leftover as fate, and that is the corner of fate. Difficulty arises when the corner comes to the center, because then in many case of many individuals, it's a destiny driven life, and the corner actually becomes the center, and there the inevitability is much higher than the power of free will. And once you are there, and few people are there, you automatically accept the overwhelming driving of destiny, and you surrender to existence, and then you start a conversation with existence. And it gets into a strange situation where the free will in conversation with existence in some way is not free, because it listens to what existence says in an intuitive sense. And this is a very mystical kind of a state, because it's very near to psychosis if you put it very strictly. Like talking to existence, it's almost a near psychotic activity. In Department of Psychiatry, often you see this poster that if you talk to God, it is prayer, and if God talks back to you, this is schizophrenia. So this is the kind of situation we are in, that this conversation with existence is a mystical fact, but from a very strict psychiatric perspective, not a very healthy thing. But we all know on the spiritual path that it is a good thing to happen if it happens after due preparation and in a largely healthy mind. So that is where we get into the surrender and worship of existence, and a living conversation with existence, and living in as much harmony with it as the conversations and our capacity allows.
So does holistic healing, especially in relation to Hindu spirituality, have some healing techniques for love as claimed?
Yeah. There is a basket of techniques, each varied, each coming from a different source, and each having a different basis. So I think we have cast the axiomatic anchors in the most varied and colorful ways. So we have so many different axioms anchored in that ultimate unknowable reality. And from each of these axioms, a colorful, flavorful, juicy spool comes out. So we have the whole tools of astrology, palmistry, energy healing, Reiki, pranic healing, and so on, many others, crystal healing, the path of social work, the path of idol therapy, the path of using mantra, the path of yoga and different types of yoga, from Hatha yoga to pranayama, kriya yoga, tantric practices, lifestyle regulation on the Ayurvedic lines, sadhana of whatever sort you are following on the spiritual path, and at the end of it, a very deep journey inside the Antaryatra. So all of these are ways of spiritual enhancement, of karma management, and of luck management. And this whole basket, from this one has to create a customized package for oneself. That is where the guru comes in, to help us create a customized package for oneself. And if there is nobody, then we do it ourselves, and we refine it by trial and error. So we are very rich in terms of tools, the toolkit for managing luck, for managing karma, for managing life. So that toolkit in Hinduism, one of the richest components of Hinduism is this toolkit. The the entire collage of different schools and toolkit of each, and you put together all the toolkits, sort of a museum of toolkits.
The clarifying conversation, I should say, of a popular word of everyday discourse. See you all again. Namaste.
Namaste.